Previously in Doraken. After having secured some carpenters to repair the skynomad, Blake managed to track down and join his companions who were searching for Aurora. They made their way to the lair of the Street Kings, but when Blake and Eos tried to sneak their way past the gang members, Eos accidentally kicked a few pebbles and a fight broke out. Despite the Street Kings having set up an anti-magic field that only seemed to affect the heroes, the House will nevertheless manage to slay most of the gang, and Eos entrapped Iago with a powerful spell. When he later found Aurora, he encountered Amaya, who told him that she had unsuccessfully tried to undo the mind manipulation on Aurora she had earlier cast on her at the behest of Iago. Iago in turn revealed that he had used an illithid artifact given to him by the Underdark Drow in order to alter Aurora's memories, but revealed nothing more as he impaled his own head against his sword, undoubtedly to avoid Eos killing him with Reaper Claw, forever ending his ability to be revived. The hero scouted the lair for treasures and valuables, and found besides some precious diamonds and a true resurrection scroll, also a page from a journal belonging to Lord Chamberlain, Sovak Cindertail. By reading this page, it was revealed that the Monui twins were in fact the legitimate heirs to the former king, Balgamor Solgar, and thereby had a rightful claim to the throne. Eos, however, dismissed this idea of invoking his rights, and the group instead focused on restoring Aurora's mind. Pooling the arcane knowledge together, Eos and Blake came to the conclusion that Aurora's memories could only be permanently restored with the destruction of the artifact. And so Davree volunteered to destroy it, and with a single swing of the Fuck You Warhammer, it shattered. But at the moment of its destruction, the artifact unleashed a psychic shockwave which sent Davree's consciousness flying into the back of his mind and memories, as well as those around him. Davree, you find yourself flying through infinity. Or perhaps you simply hover in place as the scenery around you moves with blurring speed. You cannot tell any specific details, but it seems you are moving in a tunnel of visions consisting of various places, towns, rooms, people, and scenery. Some are familiar to you, while others are completely unknown. As you move inside this tunnel, you feel a gentle pull. The tunnel slows down considerably and you see a small cottage with a shed come into view. They both grow larger and larger still as you are moved towards them. And then a voice echoes in your ears. "Trust me, my stalwart servant." While it's the first time you have heard her actual voice, you know this to be Valiga. The joy, love and comfort lingering in her words cannot be mistaken. And she says, "There's a purpose to it all." Davree, you land in front of this cottage, and you recognize it immediately. This was your childhood home in Gravenhill. It is a warm summer's day, so the doors and windows are open to let the breeze cool off the interior. On this particular day, both of your mothers are fairly busy. Molly is standing by the stove, preparing your dinner as well as making some baked goods for her co-workers down at the inn. Brina, on the other hand, well, she stands inside her shed, her workshop, and is completely covered in paint. She is busy restoring a large painting that is usually displayed in the local Falaga church. And then you see yourself, a little boy, rushing into Brina's workshop.
I like to imagine that, so this is a gnomish home, so of course everything's kind of still a little bit down. But that Molly really likes to keep the garden kind of nice. And so when I see myself running, I don't actually see myself, I just see like a hedgerow, and then this tuft of like blue hair just behind it, yeah.
And that is when you recall this specific moment. It was the first time inspiration truly found you. You felt this incredible, almost divine urge to create. And as you walk in, you see Brina wipes her forehead, leaving a small trail of paint on her brow. And she says, "What's the rush, my little man?"
I found a butterfly And I wanted to show it to you. Oh no.
Oh, don't worry, it will get better, she says, and takes it out of her hands like, oh boy, not another one. This is like the hamster incident all over again.
What are you doing, Mama?
Oh, I'm just restoring the art piece. You know, sometimes the painting needs a little brush up.
Ow?
No, I think I got it. Maybe you should try to do your own thing for once. Can you just take some of the paint or sculptures, whatever you want?
Okay.
Yeah, we see this little... Yeah, what kind of art piece did you make?
I actually think... So one of the reasons why this kind of really stuck out to me is because at this moment, what's it called? Mum calls for Mama. Because she needs help with the in the kitchen or something. And Brina's gone for like 20 seconds at most. But it's enough time for Davree to add a beautiful butterfly right in the middle of this 1,000-plus-year-old painting.
I kind of imagine it's not like even with brushes, then think just with hands. Like,
Like, Mama, I made a bear.
And they walk in and they're both like, huh. And Molly says, well, at least you have your talent. And Brian's like, yep. But yeah, they fix it with... Actually, what Brina does is she makes a replica. It's just easier that way. And again, yeah, your family keep this painting. Again, nobody knows about it. Yeah, and then the memory starts to fade away.
The scenery wobbles, and Davree, you are flung to a town you have never been before. You find yourself standing on a dirt road, where the buildings are in poor conditions, and they, more often than not, have shutters rather than actual windows. Walking in front of you, you see a teenager in dirty clothes. Rags, even. He's tightly holding on to a few groceries he had to steal in order not to starve that day. And you can tell that he's even more gaunt than what you know him as in present day. As Blake walks down the street, you feel thoughts not your own linger in your mind. And Davree, you realize that while you experience this memory as a spectator, you are also overwhelmed by the same sentiments and feelings as that of its owner. You feel how Blake thinks he should have been more careful. He ought to have known better. This part of town was always rough. But then again, nothing would have changed had he indeed been careful. As Blake turns a corner, a group of half-orcs blocks his path. They are around the same age as him, but they are easily twice his weight, just due to sheer muscle mass. And the ringleader of this gang grins and says, Well, lanky blacky, eh? Awfully nice of you to share. He walks up to Blake and grabs a turkey leg, which he just rips out of Blake's hold, and then takes a bite out of it. And Blake, calmly but yet still nervous, says, Listen, Rocco, I'm happy to give you guys some if we just could skip the whole, and wham! You see how Rocco just slams an elbow into the side of Blake's head, causing him to fall down and his groceries to fall upon the dirt road. But before things can turn truly ugly, an obese orc in the distance yells, Oi, what the fuck you doing? And Rocco and his goons just rush off, leaving behind a bleeding Blake on the ground. The obese orc helps Blake up as he says, You alright there, Blacky? And Blake says, I'm so, as he adjusts his jaw. Come, I'll have a dollar patch you up. And Davree, you start to follow behind as Seog leads Blake back to his home.
Here his wife, Itala, patches up Blake's wounds, while Search himself tends to his garden with a rake.
You're not weak, Blockhead. Sure, you're not powerful of body, but that mind of yours, kid? Well, that's far powerful than any muscle. Many of the youngsters in town, Blackie, well, they try to be strong like metal. But metal, while tough, is brittle as well. One wrong hit, and it shatters in your hand.
And in that moment, Circus' rake hits a rock and one of the teeth just breaks off.
Don't be like metal, Blackie. Be flexible. Be malleable, like clay, you know? Adapt to any situation, and that brains of yours will help you solve any problem and get out of any trouble.
And Blake actually took it to heart. From that day on, he studied and worked hard, so that his brain was never without examination, knowledge. Nothing was deemed too mundane or esoteric. Any information that could help him grow, Blake consumed feverishly. He learned to work as an accountant, yet allowed himself no rest outside of work, because then at night he would train to become an adventurer. Xerx's scarecrow became his first training partner. And as its clothes got torn, Blake used the opportunity to learn how to sew and ultimately make costumes. And with his new attires, well, Blake had the opportunity to study people from all walks of life, and by doing so, also gained an understanding of those different than himself. Over the span of a few months, Davree, you see how this strong teenager grows into becoming a man. And you realize that sometimes we forget that even something as mundane as growing up can be pretty damn heroic. Davree, you left home early in life. Your mothers arranged it so that you could be trained in the local church of Elica in Gravenhall. You were not the only one to join the same year, but one of these newcomers held a special place in your heart. A human boy with the name of Thomas, although everyone simply called him Tom. The two of you became fast friends. In fact, the antics of Tom and Dav became a bit of a saying in town. When someone would rather follow a hedonistic streak rather than study, well, people would sometimes compare those folks to you two. As you grew up, both of you aspired to become paladins. Or, as Tom would say, to protect what is beautiful, well, it's beauty in itself, right? At your final rite of initiation, you, Tom, and a few other acolytes were tasked to hunt down an undead presence lurking in the forest southeast of Gravenhall. Most in this group with the long polearms, including Tom with his glaive. But Davree, due to your diminutive size, you had to rely on a javelin instead. After a few days of unsuccessfully tracking down this thing, you and Tom were cut off from the rest of the group as a bank of anti-magical mist swept over the forest. And so when evening comes, you and Tom start to set up camp. What do you say as you're like preparing for the meal and then going to bed?
So you're saying that it's been kind of a rough time so far for them, or is it?
Again, you have been unable to to find this thing. Occasionally you'll find tracks, but then you lose it again.
Don't worry, Tom. With your with my natural grace and your natural wits, we're gonna be great. I say, well known for being very clumsy.
and Tom's like, yeah, certainly. Like, no worries. And it's like he's whittling down a steak just for the sake of it. It's like, shit, I knocked myself. Okay, yeah, but I'll take the first watch and then I'll see you in the morning, okay?
Yeah. Don't fall asleep, right?
I will never. Just as you had fallen asleep, Davree, you're woken up by Tom standing up, weapon in hand. From the darkness, you see a ghast leap down from a tree and attack Tom. They both roll on the ground and Tom lands on his back, out of reach from his glaive. The ghast then strikes his chest, and its toxin seeps into Tom's wound, causing him to be paralyzed. But just before he's unable to move, Tom wraps his arms around the beast, locking it in place. You quickly rush to his side and start stabbing this undead thing. Time and time again, your javelin just burrows deep into its back and head, and finally you strike the killing blow. But as you push the gas to the side, you see Tom with lifeless eyes stare into the dark sky. And it is heartbreaking to see yourself unable to save your friend, to lose him again. And you hear Fischer say,
"I wish not to meet Tom, Cersei. The loss of a life is never easy, but I am sorry that I was unable to give the two of you more time together."
The time we had together, I've come to realize after all these years, was made more beautiful by their brevity.
And you can almost, even though you cannot see her, you can almost feel this smile, this melancholy smile, like that she understands what you mean by that. And Davree, you then see yourself for the first time display the abnormal strength given to you by Fischer. You strap Tom's glaive on your back and lift your friend up in your arms. And braving the mist and the night, you walk solemnly back to Gravenhill. And then the memory fades. As the next memory intensifies, Davree, you find yourself in front of a wide, two-story building akin to a saloon in the middle of the day. Above the door, you see a sign where there is written in bold letters, "The Rapid Grove." Even with just a few glances, you can tell that this is some sort of pleasure house, although it would be more akin to a hippie or bohemian community rather than an actual brothel. Cleaning the floorboards near the bar, you see an adolescent male. While there's no Arthur perched on his shoulders, nor the tips of his hair having the characteristic blue tint, you easily recognize a young Jace Larkin. Coming down from a spiral staircase inside is a wood elf, with blonde hair, a slight orange hue to it. He is dressed in a half-open white shirt and a pair of slim black trousers, and in his hand is a spellbook. You can feel Jace's memories of this man, revealing his name to be that of Rin Devere. "You're ready for your next lesson, boy." You see the young Jace smile and nods eagerly. "Sure thing, Rin. Just let me tidy up the counter first." And you see both of them sit down, and you realize that Jace is trying to learn how to become a wizard, but he simply cannot get the magic to work, and you gather from his frustration that this is not the first time he has failed. After 20 to 30 minutes passes and nothing happens, Rin sighs. "It is no use, boy. You simply lack the means to cast spells." And you see the young Jace nod in defeat, but you feel his refusal. You can feel how he is certain that he is able to use magic. He simply needs to know how to unlock his potential. A few days passes when you late at night see Jace break into Rin's study. But you also realize that Jace is surprised by this memory, because it was only just recently regained. Rummaging through scrolls, tomes, books, and grimoires, the young Jace finally finds what he's looking for. Following the instructions inside the tome, he makes a magical circle and lights a few candles around the edges. The candlelight turns blue and float off their wicks, following the path of the circle's border. They speed up until they form a single blue line of light, and then they evaporate as the room is covered in rime frost.
It is an honor to finally make your acquaintance, son of Sir Valsai. I have looked forward to this day.
Levitating within the circle is a fey woman.
I am Lady Galafriel, mistress of Rimefrost, daughter of Queen Titania and temporary ruler of the Winter Court.
When told his father's name, Jace hesitates, but he recalls that patrons are powerful, manipulative, and dangerous, and so he continues with his initial plan. And Davree, you witness as Jace and Lady Galafriel form a pact, which included hunting down Lord Mihalad. But just as Jace is about to conclude the pact, Rin Davree bursts in and dispels the ritual, causing Lady Galafriel to disappear. But her voice lingers.
You're too late, brother. The deal has been made, and the pact will conclude even with your interference.
And Rin huffs, but only when the pact mends, sister. He waits a brief moment in silence, before he runs over to Jace and shakes him by the shoulders. Damn it, boy. I promised your parents to protect you, and now I have failed again. And Davree, you overhear an important conversation taking place between the two of them. Rin Davree reveals himself to be Lord Mihalad of the Autumn Winds. When he fled the Feywild after he attacked Queen Titania, the Winter Court sent its strongest warrior to kill him, namely Sir Valsai. But as the two archfays spent time in the mortal realm, playing cat and mouse with each other, they ultimately came to a truce. In fact, Sir Valsai also decided to remain the material plane, as he had fallen in love with a human woman called Lucia, and had a child with her. But the Winter Court had not forgotten about them, however, and sent assassins to kill them both. Sir Valsai sacrificed himself to protect Jace and Lucia, and told Mihalad before his sacrifice that by sparing his life, he owed him a favor: to protect his family. After Valsai's death, Mihalad tried to make a safe haven for Lucia, Jace, and himself. But before he could finish their final warding glyphs, the Fae attacked once more, and this time, Lucia gave up her life to give Mihalad time to escape with Jace, as he had a better chance of outrunning the Fae. It took years and several attempts, but Mihalad finally succeeded in creating the safe haven, which he later called the Rapid Grove. During his travel with the infant Jace, Rin severed the boy's connection to Arcane, as he discovered that was what had allowed the Winter Court to track them down. And Rin hoped that by showing Jace that he was incapable of magic, he could convince the boy to lead a dull and uneventful life, so neither Jace nor Mihalad could ever be found by the Winter Court. But that plan had failed, now that Jace had formed a pact with the same entity that had taken away his father and mother. And you see Rin tells Jace that he will make him forget what has happened, both to him now and to his parents. The loss of memory will postpone the completion of the pact, giving me time to plan for my sister's next move. And I will need that time, boy. Furthermore, it will make you perfect bait. My sister will be all too happy to make you become the instrument of my doom. The irony will be too tempting. And you see Jay say, "But what about me? How am I supposed to help if I don't know what I'm doing?" And Davree, you see Rin place a hand on Jace's shoulder as he says, "It is not ideal, boy. But it is all we can do for now. But when we are stronger, And then the memory fades. And you can feel Jace unable to recall the rest of the exchange between himself and Rindavir. Davree, you find yourself in a dimly lit bedroom late at night, where inside is a queen-size bed and a cradle. Lying in the bed is Aurora and Damias. They both look at Dawn, who has finally fallen asleep. And Damias says, "I don't know which one of us you got it from, but that girl is stubborn."
Well, I'm guessing it's from both of us.
Poor us.
If I knew this would happen, I don't think I would have done it.
Actually, I'm not quite agreeing with you there.
Of course you're not, because the sex was amazing.
Also that, I will not lie. But rather, Aurora, I was walking down a really dark, dangerous path, and you and now Dawn is... I know I've not said it before, and I probably will not say it again, because I can feel almost, even though I have completely black skin, I am turning a bit red-faced here, but thank you. True. And then he squishes your hand.
Well, you finally gave me one thing I don't want to lose.
And as you lie there, Aurora, you realize that you seldom allow yourself to revisit this memory. Because this perfect moment hurts so much. For moments like this was forever taken away from you and your family. But now, as you relive it, Aurora, you also realize that despite the pain and sadness it brings, it is still worth it. Because it is moments like this which dulls the pain as well. Life can be so easily hard and cruel, but in the end, happiness and love are some of the reason why it is also wonderful and worth every struggle. In the next memory, Davree, you find yourself at the outskirts of a lair belonging to the Street Kings. Standing in darkness is Zeus, giving the place a last look before taking off. His belongings are placed inside a small satchel on his back, and he's about to leave a place that was the closest thing to a home, and only barely, when Damias appears. And Davree, you can feel the heartache of Zeus. Sure, he's happy for Aurora, truly, but it is too hard to stay, and Damias is the reason why. You see Damias approach Zeus. He sighs, and with crossed arms he says, "I suspected you might leave, but I never thought you would leave without saying goodbye to Aurora first." And Zeus replies, "Well, it's not like I'm cutting you out of my life. I'm just seeing if things can be better elsewhere." And there's a brief pause between the two of them before Damias nods and says, Sure. Listen, Zeus, I hope that whoever or whatever you find out there, that you will be just half as happy as I am right now. Truly. I hope for the best for you. And then he just leaves, not knowing it would be the last time he saw Davree in person. Not knowing that he will have a niece, only to lose her. And that's the thing about goodbyes. We never know when it's the last one, and we don't always use opportunities to leave people we care about in the manner that we want, or that they deserve. Davree, you stand by a lake that is completely still, perfectly mirroring the starry sky above.
We are almost done, Davree.
You hear Fischer say,
This last memory was very important for my decision.
Descending from the sky, you see Anastasia. On her back are you and Captain Riley. You most likely knew the moment you stood here by the lake, but you remember this as your first proper date. You see yourself help Riley down from Anastasia and lead her to a spot by the lake where you have prepared a picnic. There's a comfy blanket placed on the ground next to a basket with food and wine. The two of you light a few candles and just shoot the breeze as you look upon the beautiful vista.
You know what? I think it's because it's such a beautiful night. I think Davree's talking about, like, the stars. And, you know, stories of you know, those are called the Three Sisters. And they're so named because da-da-da-da. And, you know, Riley, she probably knows half, if not all, the stories well, but she knows maybe different versions of them. So she says the three brothers, right? No, they're definitely sisters. And we kind of just, like, talk about,
the
stars.
And again, it's a very tender and beautiful moment, even though, again, you're just talking, but... And after a while, you see yourself pull out a small present for Riley. And you give it to her. And as she unwraps it and then unravels it, she sees this long, beautiful painting with, in the corner, a hand-painted butterfly. And she says, "Wow, that's really beautiful. Did you make this?"
Yeah, with the butterfly.
Oh, okay. Now I don't feel so bad. I was like, wow, this belongs in a museum.
I mean, a church of the beauty. So
again, don't get me wrong. I'm not giving it to a museum, but you can.
Yeah, I mean, no, it's you're not very far off. You're actually very, very, very close.
You bet I am, she says, and then leans down and kisses you.
I'm sure. This isn't our first date.
Oh, again, this is your first proper date.
Yeah. Okay. This is like this is like a special occasion. I think it's the first time off the ship together.
Yeah, exactly.
We spent time together on the ship, but this is the first time where we go off the ship.
Yeah, again, kind of work colleagues that finally go in the real world, essentially.
Yeah. No, but I also think, like, on board the ship we've had, like, just times where just been the two of us spending time together. But I think this is the first time where it's like, where I've said, let's get away from the ship for a night. I want to show you this beautiful lake I found while flying.
Yeah.
No, I show her this art and I say, what's your first name?
Riley Redding.
Okay, so this is Riley. Yeah. Riley, I worship beauty, and that may seem conceited, but I think it's important to understand. For me, everything is beautiful. Every animal, every blade of grass, every moment between friends and loved ones. It's all beautiful. And that I worship and I try to celebrate. And I've made it my life's goal to do everything I can to preserve it. In the church, we talk about... No, it's my mum who always says the best thing you can do is to leave the world a little bit more beautiful than when you entered it. And I've traveled the world and I've fought and saved hundreds of people, but this, pointing at the painting, this is my contribution. And I know that threats we face, my compatriots and I, are beyond our understanding. So I hope that I can ask a favor of you. If I don't make it, take this painting and give it to someone who will appreciate it.
And she says, for you, Davree, anything.
I smile, give her a kiss on the cheek, roll it up, and pass it to her, and then I think we just kind of sit in silence for a little bit.
And as the day concludes, you both get back on Anastasia and fly up towards the Skarnamat, off to your next adventure.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe, and we hope to see you again in Doraken.